another coding ASMR video where today I will be solving 2 more LeetCode problems. Today is July 15, 2022, and I picked 2 LeetCode problems. So before I begin, this is Akshan. He is sneaky, so he's going to hide in this video. And at one point, he's going to pop in and swing around. If you happen to find him, comment down below the timestamp. Alright, so I'm going to solve 2 problems. And this is the first one. Longest common prefix. So this is a function that I have to find the longest common prefix string amongst an array of strings. If there's no common prefix, return a empty string. So in the first example, I get an array of flower, flow, and flight, an array of strings, and I'll have to return FL because it's the common thing. And for the second example, there's no common string because there's an array of these 3 and there's no common prefix, so I have to return an empty string. So let's begin. Okay, so let's start. I got just copy paste this boilerplate code that they gave us from LeetCode. So I have to give in a string as a parameter, an array of strings, and I have to return a string that contains the common prefix. Okay. Alright, I'm going to now declare some variables. This is going to be the variable where we store the prefix. So, and this is where we'll eventually return. Okay, so I'm going to now I'm going to think. Okay, so if there's ever a common prefix, I'll append it to this variable, append it to the string, and if there's no common prefix, I'll just return this string. Alright, so let's begin. So what I'll do is we want to actually loop until the length of the shortest word of the string. So that's my first thought, because we have an array of strings and I'm going to return the one with the shortest string. So I'm gonna make an array. So let's do an array. Hello Ziri. And what else should I do? Beautiful. Okay, so no. Let's do it sunny. Summer. Alright. And this will be my own test array that I'll use. Alright, so my first goal is get the word with shortest, get the length of shortest word, and I'll see. I'm gonna try to do that. So what I'm gonna try to do is, my first thing to do is sort from smallest to longest word and return and get the length of the first element, which is the shortest word. So yeah. Alright, I'm going to now try to do it. So okay. Okay, so I'm gonna just log the initial and then sort it where the work from shortest to longest. So maybe I'll do this, and I'm going to use this sort function. The array sort in JavaScript will be using comparable, so it's just going to compare two elements, and this function just swaps which one to put before what depending on the condition. So here, this is the comparable function I pass in the sort, and the compare function, it's just going to compare the lengths of the two. So if I would do A length minus B the length, I'm going to sort A before B if A is shorter. That's what I think. So I'm going to test if it works. And seems like it's gonna work. So Siri comes first, hello comes second, and summer becomes third because Siri is the shortest word. Alright, so now I'm going to do the shortest word. So const shortest length equals strings 0 at 0, the first word for the shortest. And now what I'm thinking of doing is using this, so I'm going to make a while loop until the shortest length, and every time in the while loop I'm going to scan. I'm going to take that word and loop through it. So in each iteration I'm going to use an inner for loop to scan each variable and each letter in that subarray to see if they match. So by the way, this is the shortest word, and I'm going to loop till the shortest word to length. So I'm going to do some nested for loop, not a while loop. So for let's I or no, let's not do for loop. Let's just do a while loop and put a counter variable, so like a character number. So we start at 0 and end up at word.length. I may not be doing the problem in a perfect, efficient way, but I'm just doing it for like the tingles as long as I solve it. So, and for your tingles, yeah. And for, yeah, your needed tingles. Okay, so, yeah, I'm now gonna do the while loop. So while card number is shorter than the length, I'm gonna do a compare function or something like, or yeah, I'm gonna get the letter and do an inner for loop. So loop through the strings array to see and scan if that letter matches. So letter, no, let's not make a variable. Let's do in your for loop. And I++. So this basically scans through the array and checks if each word in array and checks if the letter at position car number matches each word. If the letter position car number matches each word, if the letter, and checks if the letter at position car number matches each word in the array. So let's say if an array is like all begin with A, I'm gonna see if they all start with A, and if they do, I'm gonna append it to prefix. So I'm gonna do that. If strings at position I, if it's not equal to, at one point, if it's not equal to the shortest word at car number, I'm gonna immediately return the prefix. Alright. And then you exit out of the for loop. This assumes that this if check makes sure that every word in the array has a letter that starts with, like, that has the same starting letter or second letter or third letter for the prefix. So at the end, I'm gonna add in the letter, and I'm gonna increment car number by 1. And at the end, once it passes what's in loops to the shortest word, I'm not gonna loop anymore and return the prefix. Return the prefix. Okay. Alright, so now I'm gonna try and test it. So I have this array. I'm gonna test it. So I should be getting a string, an empty string, because they don't have any common prefixes. See, they all start with different letters. Okay, so I found some bugs, logical syntax bugs, syntax errors, and here I should be, to get the letter at that position, I would have to do shortest word at car number, like to get the exact character at that position, because I thought the string, well, I saw the string as an array. So whoops. And for the string array, I'm gonna also do car at as well, because here what I did here is I get the string itself and not the exact characters. So I have to do car at because I want to compare individual characters, not the whole string. So car number, because here before I got the string itself. If this returns the string, accesses the string, and I missed this car at, and car at just gets the string, gets the letter at that car numbers you specified. So now I should be getting something. So yeah, I got an empty string here, which is what I actually wanted. Actually, this error led me to the same thing. I had a gut feeling that there was something wrong with my code. So, and I found these problems. Had I even had a common string, I would still get an empty string because this would never be valid. Okay, so I got an empty string. Now I'm going to try to change up my test array. Let's see. Let's do apple and Ari and aphelion. By the way, fun fact, aphelion is the distance, the farthest distance Earth to the Sun. So, yeah, that's why I chose that. And boom, now we have got an error. Alright, so what assignment to a constant variable. Okay, so we got an error, so I happen to try to assign a new value to a constant. So, yeah, so the error was because this was a constant and I should have done a variable instead. It's not a constant. Okay, so I should be getting that. So A, that's the first letter, since it has a common prefix. So Ari, apple, and aphelion. Now I'm going to try to do with boric, bored, and boring. And BO, because these two have BOs, they start with BOs, and even though they 2 out of 3 words start with BOR, but this word does not start with BOR. So if I would do BOR here, Borward, I don't know if that's a word, a exact word. It's not even a real word. And save it. Yeah, there you go, BOR. Okay, so I've tested my code then with my example test cases that LeetCode has given, and flower, float, flight as the array, it returned FL because they all start with FL. And in the second array, dog, race car, and car, I returned an empty string. And yeah, it seems like I'm doing an okay job, and let's see if I actually done it. So if it passed my test. So if it's faster than half of it, I kind of succeeded. It had a pass rate of 62%, but the space complexity is not that great. At least I successfully done it in this video, but at least I've done 50% of that. I passed half of it. So let's do the next one. This is the next problem I'll do, the last problem of the day. It is going to be a matrix problem. So you're given a n by n 2D square matrix representing an image. Rotate the image by 90 degrees clockwise. So I start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 like that, and I'll have to end up with 7 for 1, 1, 2, 3, 8, 5, 2, and 9, 6, 3. So, and the thing is that I cannot create a new matrix, assign a new matrix, and fill it with a new solution. I have to instead modify the existing one. Maybe that means I can reassign a row to a new row, but I cannot definitely use another matrix. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to use the code that LeetCode gave us. It's a placeholder boilerplate code, and the params, I have to pass in a matrix, which is an array within an array, 2D array, and I have to return an array that's a matrix that is 90 degrees rotated. So yeah. Okay, so I have this array initially, and I'll have to get this. I have to go from this to this, which is an array that's rotated 90 degrees clockwise. Alright, so let's begin. So what I should do, how can I get from this to this? So it seems like I think I found a first thing. What I should first do, I think, is to reverse the order of the rows. So essentially the first one becomes the third, and the third one becomes the first. So the orders are flipped. So you got an array of arrays, and I want to reverse the order. So like reverse the order of the matrix rows, and I should be getting like this. And I think to go from here to here is basically do a transpose, which the rows become columns. So first I'm gonna now do the before I do that, I'm going to reverse the matrix. So I'm going to test that out. So I got a matrix here, and the second one is the reversed. So 1 2 3 became 7 8 9 4 5 6, and then set 1 2 3, which is the first row. So reversed matrix. Alright, I guess I should be good with that one. And now here comes the harder part. So now what I'm going to try to do is take the transpose. If you don't know what transpose is, it is something you do in matrices, where in square matrices you can make the rows become columns and columns become rows. So like rows become columns, it's like that. You transpose it. So now what I'm going to do is take transpose. Alright, that's going to be the trickier part. And this, I guess this will become a nested for loop, because I'll have to loop through every element, well, at least half of the elements, because I want to only switch rows, make columns become rows, and not change them back. So alright, let's do the nested for loop. Not int. I was thinking in Java. Let's use a for loop that's where I'm gonna name the counter variable as row. The row is the row number, and here I'm going to take use an inner for loop. Matrix at row. Matrix row dot length. Call plus plus. So this basically, you loop through each row, and here you loop through each column. And my goal is to swap the matrix at column and row, and assign it to the value of the column and row. So like, in order to change the row and the column to make the rows become columns, I will have to switch the indices so that the rows become columns. Like I have to assign a spot on the matrix to be equal to the other number, the number of, instead of column, is row. You know what I mean? This is really, really hard to explain. So I might be able to explain this better, but yeah, let's assign it. Let's make a temp variable, because I'm trying to swap two values. So interchange rows and columns. That's what I'm trying to do. No, constant temp. So in matrix, and I want to get the value of at row and column. So matrix at row and column. And I want to reassign matrix at row and column. I want to override it so it becomes the value at matrix, column, and row. Because essentially, I want to, for example, if I want to take number 2 as the array, I want to switch this into this. Since it's the number 2, I want it to become 4, because 147 here. But basically, you just flip the row and the column, so the rows become columns. Matrix row and column, assign it to matrix, the value matrix, column, and row, in order to change from row to column. And I'm going to assign matrix at row and column to be equal to temp. So basically, you swap two values at opposite sides of the row and column, I guess. Alright, so now I'm going to try and test it. And now what I should see is a transpose, like the rows became columns. Okay, so it seems like that the array matrix hasn't changed. Why is that? Let me think. Oh shoot, I have logical error. Let's see through this loop. Alright, so what I'm feeling is that, yeah, eventually I'll eventually come across the same number, and there's a problem here, because eventually, if I keep running this until the end of the array like that, I'll eventually re-switch the values again. So like the values will become swapped 2 times eventually. Like if I see the number 2 here and it switched with number 4, eventually I come across 2 again and it's gonna switch again. So to prevent that, I'll try to start with row, because if I look the matrices and divide it into triangles, the lower part, the bottom left triangle is here. If I would see a matrix as 2 triangles, like 4, 7, 8 will be the bottom left triangle, and 2, 3, 6 will be the top right triangle. That means that eventually I don't want to check these values out, 4, 7, and 8, because these values are already switched, the new values of the row. And if I just loop through the upper triangle, I will be good, because eventually, since I've been doing this without scanning through the whole matrix, I'll eventually switch two values twice, like this and this and this and this. Alright, so I'm going to start with row because I want to start 1, 5, and 9. Alright, so now let's try and test it out to see if it works. Alright, so it seems like it has taken its transpose. So if I would see here, these are the two tables. This is before the transpose, and this is after the transpose. To recap, I would say I think transpose is a matrix where the rows became columns and columns becomes rows. And so 7, 8, 9 here is the row, and now it became the column. And so I feel like I have successfully made the problem, finished the problem, because if I would compare the values that are expected with my actual results, I think I've done a fairly okay job. Okay, so I ran my code, and I feel like I've done an okay job. My code is passed at least, but it's faster than 71%. I don't really care about that, but the space complexity is not that great. But at least I've done an okay job with my problem. At least I passed my test cases. And for this video, I'm kinda satisfied. And hopefully you've got your tingles. So if you get your tingles, please drop that like button. Drop a like. It will be greatly appreciated. And don't forget, if you found Akshan, comment down below the timestamp. So, end of this video. Stay tuned for the next ASMR video, and peace out.